and I'm delighted to welcome Peter Wennekes, who is the Chief Executive of the international organisation CNET. Peter Wennekes.
So thank you, Murray, for the privilege and inviting me to say a few words here about global trends and global developments in our industry. Indeed, the world is coming much more closer to the day-to-day operations. And within our industry, we really speak about the influence of a global development. And it's going very rapidly, as I will try to demonstrate to you in the coming slides. And because of the previous speaker said, slides are the only thing you remember, I have a lot of slides in a few words only. So we try to take that into mind. And also, I will not do it on my own, I will invite one of my colleagues to say a few words about the benchmark studies we've done and to show a little bit what has been discussed this morning about the choice in different solvents, and not what we have presented meanwhile from a series of benchmark studies in providing you an independent open view. So, before we do this, a few words on CNET itself. CNET is an umbrella association initiated by a merger between Northern and Southern European umbrella associations over 20 years ago. And the last couple of years we have a lot of new members from all parts of the world. And our board, we have 5 board members meanwhile, which are showed here. We work from our office from the Netherlands, where we coordinate all activities, and we work with a secretariat team. Here 7 people are shown, but meanwhile, since briefly, we have 2 additional persons who are joining our team as regional managers, and they are here also at this show. Additionally, we have set up and setting up a framework of liaison officers who work closely together with us on different events and different projects, liaise with the regional situation of countries, and are actively involved in 10 to 15 events this year. The global objectives and mission statement of CNET is to be a well-structured umbrella association, supporting and representing the professional textile care industry, laundry and dry cleaners alike, and include this also in business to consumer and business to business operations. Our objective is to stimulate innovation and to stimulate also the exchange of information. And for this reason, we operate yearly over 10 research projects, the majority of them international research projects, and we've developed all sorts of instruments in supporting and facilitating information exchange, amongst them working and organizing closely together with international trade show organizations and national associations to organize conferences, workshops, etc. We have now 65 members, being national associations, research institutes, franchisee organizations and international suppliers, over 150 liaisons over the world, work together with 1,500 experts, and are setting up 7 working groups for intense cooperation and setting up of projects among a number of issues and themes. As I said, we work together with trade associations. We might say all trade shows around the world we are cooperating with and trying to get this message come across, but also with a growing number of trade magazines, currently 12, 13, but we will expect to double this before the summer. Some examples of research projects we are doing is an international research project on wash and load, which means refunctionalization during cleaning processes within industrial laundries. A support benchmark and best practice project in China, Switch Asia project, is an assignment of the European Commission. Best practice projects in all parts of the world, and benchmark studies on quality and sustainable performance as an example. In this way we are extending our global network. Last year we've got 15 new members, this year already 6, including the Australia Dry Cleaning and Laundry Association, a French association for the hospitality laundries, and also the Indonesian National Association became 3 weeks ago a member of CNET. And also a number of suppliers, international suppliers, have become a member. This brings us to the topic of today's presentation, the trends in professional textile care in a global perspective. The world is changing rapidly, and we are very pleased to see that also our industry is changing more rapidly than has been the case in the past. If you look upon the drivers for this, the economic growth in many cases was a driver for economic development in our industry as well. And recently we saw the crisis in mature countries, and in emerging countries really considerable growth figures. And lately, last year it started, the growth in emerging countries was slowing down a little bit, and we see gradually in mature countries restoration of this situation and becoming more positive development. This includes the BRIC countries, where a lot of change has been made the last couple of years. Middle East, Asia in general, you might say, Eastern European countries, South Africa and South America. And although in those countries the growth rate has been slowing down a little bit, we see meanwhile a very good perspective for the years to come, where a lot of potential which is incredible in numbers. I'll make some few examples about numbers. The growth of population in the last 100 years multiplied by 5 times. But the growth in volume of textiles, so all textiles to a large extent which have to be cleaned as well, the growth number here is 14 times. So we see an enormous growth of our industry, and this is to a large extent the result of the middle class population in these emerging countries. It's not only about volume, it's also about the way we are dressing habits and the uses of textiles, which change very rapidly. And overall, resulting, of course, as we all know, in more casual items, not only in mature countries, but also in these emerging countries. But also many new materials are coming in. Functionized synthetic materials, becoming more popular, and also biomaterials are expected to be used in the next 5 to 10 years to a large extent of the textile package. And we see that the consumption of cotton is not so much growing, it's keeping more or less the same, but as a relative figure is becoming less frequently part of the package we have to clean. And these new materials will be the point of orientation for our purposes, for our industry. The perspective for the industry is not so bad. It's really positive, we feel. But we will see an upscaling of companies by professionalizing, specializing, and implementing new technologies, capable even of bringing our cost price further down, as we expect, by over 50% per item. And this morning in the presentations, especially also of Ken, we saw already some examples of how this can be done. Because he gave examples from a number of Asia countries, which of course have a different wage level, but nevertheless in perspective means a lot of opportunity here still to go for our industry. And the level of price, as also indicated, is very important to get a volume cover cost which fits the needs of our client bases. Both not only by upscaling, but also because of diversification. This morning, a lot of examples were given for men's and women wear. But we see in Europe and also other countries a growing number of our business being related to different type of products. Cleaning of shoes, very popular, for instance, in Russia. But also European countries coming in. Curtain cleaning, caravans even. Distribution areas, specialized way of treating projects and services, developing services in that respect. Corporate clothing as a major area, and also many other ones which are mentioned here, not mentioned here. This morning, the first presentation started with communication. And we really feel communication is a very important issue. The industry doesn't have overall a poor, not so good image. You might say even a poor image. But adding to that is that the industry also not spreading around which kind of services we provide. Recent research in Europe revealed that the majority of our services are not recognized by our customer base at all. So, starting professional communication, which is also covered and supported by all partners in the industry, is a very, very effective means of getting our business supported. And I think the initiatives TSA now announced are pretty much in that line. And to do this also by a means that the visualization is keeping people, the messages in their minds. And here is an example of a Dutch company uses bananas to do such thing. But it also could show, demonstrate examples of dry cleaners using dogs or using all sorts of other very specific pictures. The essential thing for our industry, we feel, is to meet customer expectations. And I think that's the key message Ken Uchikoshi this morning also addressed. For generations, we really focused on, let's say, high quality textiles, usually with a P label. Our future markets will be in quite different directions and really require new business models and specialized service concepts. And to be more precise in this, a scientific study last year proved that for professional textile care, really the essential thing is ease and comfort for our customers and make sure it fits into their lifestyle. This is not only in mature markets the case, where this factor is really the dominating driver of our business, according to this study, but also in upcoming markets and certainly in the high quality end. So this is In the same line as Ken Uchikoshi this morning presented his case. What service is our company providing? What are our target groups? And you cannot have a positioning of do everything, he pointed out. And we really agree to that. You have to make, you see, the profitable companies are the companies who make choices in quality level and in service operations. So a choice in customer target groups is really essential. And so we need business models and new business models that fit into contemporary society. Some examples, and I don't give you a lot of them, just a few, because there are many, many more. New initiatives within the industry focusing on this development. Left below is an initiative just launched a month ago by the Dutch Association, making it possible for the holder membership to order, to use devices on the cell phone, allowing the customers to put orders forward through their cell phone to the individual dry cleaner. The example left below is an example in Dubai about a locker system, which really developed their business substantially. And not in a picture here, but only mentioned, the shirt runner operation in Germany is already for years an example how online communication resulted in profitable day-to-day operation with logistics well organized to an individual delivery. This morning, Ken also addressed some examples of Tide, and Tide is really, USA dry cleaner, is really focusing very heavily on using social media for communication purposes, but also to support their business. And we see also much more initiatives coming in on specialized markets and specialized services. Lately, this example was initiated in offering a leasing concept for textiles for consumers. And the leasing of jeans, where you can lease a jean for, let's say, €6 a month and just change it after a year of the lifetime. All the things we discussed and a lot of more is written down in a book we have compiled. It's a book over 380 pages covering worldwide markets, about market characteristics and trends, business models, assisted by over 100 experts who have contributed to this book, and this book will be available by the end of this month roughly. So, a few words on the sustainability and the technology part of the industry developments. We used to believe that quality was really the basic need and really attracting our customers, and for some markets it still is. But sustainability and quality both are the basic requirements more for our industry than they will bring new customers in. Was the result of the scientific study I earlier addressed. Though our markets and our stakeholders and governments and governmental bodies are becoming more aware about the sustainability and the need of sustainability, but it's seen as much more as a precondition than it will be the business driver or the most important business driver. For me it was a confirmation of things we have seen in Europe, the result of a study which I learned from here in the UK only very recently, that 50% of the textiles dressed with a P label are not brought into the business at all, which is really the same situation in many European countries. But society simply does not accept risks in terms of sustainability anymore. So we need to address that issue carefully. And if we don't address it, we see examples that it really results in a lot of costs, unnecessary costs, and to deal with those effects and to make sure you get a restoration of your original position. I'm not going to all these details, but just make it clear that in many countries sustainability is upcoming, and the situation today in the world is quite different. But people are aware about sustainability, are informed about sustainability, not in European countries only. CNET's position is here not to have a ban on which solvent whatsoever, but to apply and stimulate best practices. Best practices in terms of using the right machinery, dedicated chemicals, and working procedures according to the needs to come up with those results on sustainability needed. And do this in a step-by-step, because you cannot change from one day to the other. And the current situation in countries around the world is quite different. If you look upon legislation, we see the VOC directive effective in Europe. We see in the United States, in Japan and Australia, more or less equal type of regulation. We see very little legislation in Eastern Europe and South America. And we see the highest standard of legislation in those countries who adopted scientific values on environmental issues. And because of the examples in those countries where legislation came in and a lot of publicity was raised accordingly, resulted in so much dramatic figures on the turnover of the sector as a whole, we feel that to go for an offensive approach on best practice is the best way to go. To talk this over with all stakeholders and to set up effective plans accordingly. This can and will be supported by experts who are available and also by CNET. And some examples which I'd like to give to you. First one is a Russian example. 2 years ago, this project was launched, and step by step is focusing on improving sustainable performance of Russian dry cleaners. Coordinated and set up by the association in Russia and supported by CNET in many ways. A similar project on best practices was launched also 2 years ago in China, where the Switch Asia project was launched in 2 mega cities, Nanjing and Yingzhou, and now upscaled this year in 2 other cities, Beijing and Hangzhou, and next year in 2 other cities again. Because so the Chinese government also feels that the sustainability of sectors, it's not only on our sector, but it's a bunch of sectors, is very important. So, why shouldn't we be offensive? Because as a result of our studies up till so far, we found out that our industry is really very sustainable and is the best solution to be offered to consumers and to our markets. And therefore, I'd like to ask Timme to say a few words about the benchmark studies and the foundation of these remarks are made now. Timme.
Thank you very much. As Peter told us, implementing best practices leads to a sustainable, professional textile care industry. And that is exactly what this figure shows us. What you see here is the environmental impact of textile cleaning systems compared to domestic cleaning. And what you see, and what the scientific study proves, is that applying textile care systems results in a 2 to 3 times more sustainability compared to domestic laundry. And that's a very important message to remember. This means that professional textile cleaning is 2 to 3 times more sustainable than domestic laundry. So that's a message you can give to your consumers, to the customers. What's also important is that there is no big difference between the solvents. The big difference is between professional textile cleaning in general and domestic cleaning. So the cleaning method should be based on the stains, should be based on the types of garments, and should be based on the consumers that should be served. And what's also important is the cleaning performances, of course. And CNET performed a lot of benchmark studies, on which is Solvatex one of those benchmark studies. And what we see and conclude from those Solvatex benchmark studies is that the current spectrum of cleaning technology and processes offer sufficient opportunities to clean garments professionally. And the difference in cleaning performances, which was concluded from the Solvatex studies, resulted in more pre or after treatment that might be necessary for certain stains. But in the end, the cleaning methods used by a professional textile cleaner should be based, as I said, on the type of garments, stains, and the consumers, the customers you like to serve. So, as demonstrated by these scientific studies, sustainability is here to stay. It has become a basic requirement for the modern professional textile care. And it's a starting point for improved professionalism, enhanced quality, and innovation as well. So it profiles the professional textile care industry, and it accelerates the pace of innovation and profitability of the industry. So in general, the professional textile care is the best available solution for textile cleaning of textiles. On the cleaning performance side and also on the environmental side. And all this information about these best practices, the environmental impact, those benchmark studies, is written down in this book, The World of Professional Textile Care, Safe and Sustainable Processing. It is a publication completed and supported by over 100 industry experts. It is a 380 full-color page document in the English language, so it's accessible for you as well. And it contains a lot of reports and demonstration. So as Peter showed us, this is an example of the book, and it contains all the information that's necessary to implement best practices in order to achieve a safe and sustainable professional textile care industry.
Thank you, Dennis.
The floor to you.
Thank you. So we feel that's very good news. That we should not be in a defensive position as an industry, but really can profile ourselves as the best solution available in terms of sustainability if we do our job professionally. And that's the key message for publications and communications we are setting up for this year and for the years to come. And we just finalized a session on training materials. And so I hope, Mary, you allow me to say 5 words on this topic of training materials we are providing. And these are provided on an e-learning basis. Meaning the materials are self-explaining. So you can study at home, your employee can study at home. They are available meanwhile in e-dry clean for e-dry clean solvents, all solvents currently applied are included, but also for wet cleaning. And from this summer onwards, we also will have an application available for industrial laundry, explaining how sustainability can be achieved in an easy way, so self-explaining. And that was the presentation of this afternoon. I hope we give you a quick glance of what's happening in other parts of the world. And for those interested, we're happy to answer any questions about relevancy to UK market, etc. Murray, thank you very much for your opportunity to say this presentation to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Peter, and thank you very much, Timur, as well. Thanks, Peter.